Hello and welcome back to the Lit Cave. I feel like it's been quite a while since I've done a video. I'm on winter break now, and so I don't know if that means I'll make more videos or less videos. I have family coming in town soon that I'm looking forward to spending quite a bit of time with. But I do want to make a few videos during the break and keep the channel momentum going. Let me preface before I make this video, I'm very, very excited to announce that I have met my Goodreads goal. I set my 2014 reading challenge goal to read 100 books, and I'm so excited that I finished that out on Friday. Actually stayed in my classroom a little later than I even had to because I had just like 10-15 pages left to read, and I knew if I got home I would have to wait hours, and I wanted to just knock it out. So I finished reading The Hobbit, and it was a reread. Finished reading The Hobbit, and that was my 100th book. So I'm sure I'll talk about that a little bit more in my December wrap-up, but I'm just super excited that I met my goal. Okay. Doing something a little different today. This isn't a TBR or a wrap-up or a book haul or bookish thoughts. It's not any of the playlists that I already have, pretty much. This is just my thoughts on some fantastic reads during the holidays, specifically around Christmas time. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about just a few books that I think are fantastic. Now, some of these are aimed more at children, but you know, C.S. Lewis talked a lot about how a children's book isn't good if adults don't want to read it, and I pretty much agree with that. So I love to read these books too, and I love to read them to my son, and so I hope that you too can enjoy them. Now, there's also some books that are aimed more at young adult or even adult that I'll mention, and I hope that you like those as well. Okay, let's get into it. So, the first book that I want to mention, definitely one of my all-time favorite Christmas books, and that is The Polar Express. There's a good place for it. The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. I can remember as a child in elementary school sitting during story time while the teacher read this and showed some of the absolutely gorgeous illustrations that are in this book and read it out loud to us, and it was definitely one of my favorite books that we read almost every Christmas. And now there's that fantastic Robert Zemeckis animated film with Tom Hanks narrating, or with Tom Hanks doing most of the voices, and just so good. This is definitely one of my favorites. Probably my favorite classic children's Christmas book of all. So The Polar Express definitely has to be on that list. Okay, the next one, a classic if you're from where I'm from. I don't know if you can see that real well. That is The Night Before Christmas in Texas, that is, by Leon A. Harris. So this is a variation of The Night Before Christmas. And, you know, it's a little cowboyish, and to be honest, I'm not cowboyish, even though I'm from Texas. But this story is one that was definitely read to us a lot as children as well. And there's a neighborhood not far from where I live that actually does decorates their neighborhood with the theme The Night Before Christmas in Texas. And as you drive through the neighborhood, they have pages from the storybook that have been done on big wooden panels, and you can read the whole story as you're driving through. So that's super cool. So I love The Night Before Christmas in Texas. Okay, another one, The Christmas Miracle of Jonathan Toomey. This is a really great book. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. This is written by Susan. Yeah, that last name. Can you see that? Yeah, that's quite a last name. By the way, if you hear a little background noise, that's my son kicking the wall. Yeah, it's bedtime right now. The Christmas Miracle of Jonathan Toomey. This is a story about a guy who seems to be a little Scrooge-ish, a little unhappy with the world, but deep down he's a much better person than he seems. And it's a story that talks a lot about redemption, and it also talks about the story of Christ, which is a great thing to read to the children. All right, another classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Now on this one, we've actually got two great children's versions. We've got the animated version and we've got the movie version with Jim Carrey, both great movies, but how can you avoid How the Grinch Stole Christmas? So, all right, we had a brief pause to turn my son so he would stop kicking the wall. Good times. Good times. Okay, another great Christmas book. I got this at Hallmark a few years back. This is Peanuts Holidays Through the Years. 5 classic stories. And this is really cool because this is basically all the Peanuts classic Christmas stories in storybook form. I mean, all the Christmas holiday stories. So we've got The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Let's see if I can get it. We've got The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, Charlie Brown Christmas, Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, and it's the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown. All in this book together, and so this is really fun. I love the cartoons. Of course, they're a classic part of our childhood, but kind of cool to have it in book form as well. Got that from Hallmark. Really loved it years ago. Okay, this is a new one, and I'm hoping to do a haul that includes this. There's a Scholastic warehouse not far from my house that has a sale twice a year, and we went there recently and got some good storybooks, and this was one of them. It's called Listen to the Silent Night by Dandy Daly McCall, and a really fun story. This is basically the story of Jesus' birth, but it really talks about how it wasn't as much of a silent night as you might think, but it's a beautiful story and really great rhyme scheme. Just kind of keeps you enthralled in the story as you go. Okay, the next one is The Spirit of Christmas by Nancy Tillman. Okay, now Nancy Tillman is probably my favorite children's book author, like children's book author. So Nancy Tillman has written, let me look at the list so I don't forget some of them. She's written On the Night You Were Born, The Wonder of You, It's Time to Sleep, My Love. She actually illustrated that one, and a few other books like that. And what she really focuses on in her books is talking about she wants all children around the world to know the message that they are loved. And that is so important to me, not just as a teacher, as a parent, but since my son is adopted, one of the things that I really worry about as he gets older is that he would feel like he was not loved because he was in a situation where he needed to be adopted. And I so want to embed in him the message that he is more than loved, like that he is cherished. And so I love these books, and the illustrations are very beautiful, very nature-driven. There's a lot of music to the illustrations, and especially in this book. So this is another one. If I was going to be rating all these books that I've shown you, it'd be like this and The Polar Express are the two best that I've shown you so far. I cannot recommend those two enough. But for totally different reasons. The Polar Express is the magic of the Santa Claus aspect of Christmas. This one is the love of the holiday season. So I would definitely recommend that. Okay, another one. The Berenstain Bears Meet Santa Bear. I just grew up on the Berenstain Bears and love them so much. And this is a really great story where it's all about, it kind of helps to refocus your children on the idea that giving is what is really important, not getting, and to be a little bit less selfish around the holiday season, which I think sometimes in our capitalistic society, which nothing necessarily wrong with capitalism, but it can become a little bit, too focused on I need, instead of, I want to give, I want to love, I want to share. And so I do like the message of that book as well. So I can't recommend those books enough. Every single one of those I love. I read most of them to Jeremiah, my son, actually last night. We were just on a reading binge and just kept going. Okay, now for me, these are technically YA books, but I really love all three of these during the holiday season. 2 of these I read for the first time this year, and I'll talk about more in my wrap-up video later at the end of December. But Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. This is by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan, and I hope I'm pronouncing Rachel's last name correct. It could be Cohn. And David Levithan, the authors of Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlists. And I really, really love this book. For one thing, it connects to Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. not deeply, but kind of in passing, which reminded me a lot of Stephanie Perkins' books. But this one takes place all during Christmas, and I love that this book is kind of about failure and forgiveness. And great story, and I really recommend this book. Okay. Also, their books, when they write together, they almost feel like love letters to New York. So if you're someone that's interested in the city of New York, I think that you'd really like those. Okay, the next one that I read this year is My True Love Gave to Me, which is a series of young adult short stories. They're written by Holly Black, Allie Carter, Matt De La Pena, Gail Foreman, Jenny Han, David Levithan, Kelly Link, Mira McIntyre, Stephanie Perkins, Rainbow Rowell, Lainey Taylor, Kirsten White. So I gotta say, I really, really loved this book, and I think it's such a great holiday read. One of the things I like about it is that not every story is just Christmas. There's stories where some of your main characters are Jewish. There's stories where some of the main characters celebrate Yule. And I think that's great because, for one thing, if we could just understand that even though maybe our holidays aren't all the same, but the season is about loving, I think that's a good thing to do. So I will say too, my favorite stories out of this were ones I wouldn't have necessarily expected, because I hadn't read the authors as much. I went in expecting to love Holly Black and Gail Foreman and David Levithan and Stephanie Perkins and Rainbow Rowell, because I'd read all of them before. But my two favorite stories were the story Angels in the Snow by Matt De La Pena and the story Beer Buckets and Baby Jesus by Mira McIntyre. Those were just fantastic short stories. So really recommend this. And they're 12 short stories, so a lot of people are reading them as the 12 Days of Christmas. So kind of fun. And then the last one is Let It Snow, which is by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. And I've read this book several times. I was going to reread it this year, and I just didn't get to it. And I'm not pushing myself to read it right now. But I do love it. And it's 3 short stories, but they really intertwine. They're kind of part of one bigger story arc, and which I think is so unique and so interesting. And this book is full of humor and wit and love and pain and just so good. Overall, really kind of warms your heart when you finish the whole book, and so I highly recommend this one as well. Okay, well, that's not like a set number. I don't know how many I even shared with you, but I really hope that you can enjoy some of these books if you've never read them before. If you haven't read them, why don't you tell me which ones interest you the most? If you have read them, tell me which ones you like. And yeah, anyway, leave those comments down in the comments section, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. I've got some series wrap-ups to do and stuff like that, so until then, see you same lit time, same lit channel.